And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Rolling Stones.
I was always very nervous with the Stones, or at least I felt the Stones were very nervous, so that if they knew they were being recorded, then they start to treat the show like a recording session, and you wouldn't get that live thing sometimes, you know. So what's interesting about these bootlegs is that the band don't know they're being recorded, so they don't give a shit, and they're playing what they're playing, and you get a natural feel, you know. And that's, to me, what's interesting about this sort of interest in live music as well. I was impressed very much with the Brussels one, particularly. I've rarely heard the Stones that early on playing live and that well recorded. Angie's coming in there, and then Heartbreaker, and Goat's Head Soup is already coming into the thing. Mick saying, we're going to play some, you know, nouvelle chanson, because Mick's Belgian is fantastic.
Thank you. Nous faisons une autre chanson très triste.
On that Brussels show, I thought Mick was doing an incredible job. I mean, he always does, but listening to it from retrospect, I mean, I thought he was handling it amazingly well. We were hitting in some very fast tempos. And speed on tempo is not usually my thing, but sometimes, you know, when energy starts to build up, adrenaline starts to build up towards the end of a show, I can't believe we're taking it at this clip, you know. And poor Charlie, you know. Nick was doing an incredible job. I mean, it didn't faze him.
Yeah, it was a good tour, that. Billy Preston was on this tour. In a great horn section that we nicked off Stevie Wonder, Steve Medeo and Trevor Lawrence. And Bobby Keys was in the section with Steve and Trevor. Trevor Lawrence, he played on one of my favourite Marvin Gaye albums, Trouble Man. I don't know if you know this album. Da-da. Da-da.
I was amazed also on this Bill Wyman's bass playing, and the way Charlie and Bill were locking in was it was a revelation, actually. It was obviously a very good show. Taylor and I had pretty much sort of, I could almost sort of see ourselves going across the stage, and I thought, yeah, you got that, you know. In fact, towards the end of it, I wondered what the rest of the band were on, because things were really sort of starting to rock at a ferocious pace. The thing is, when I was listening to it, I kind of, you know, just thought, oh man, that was the 70s. That was, you know, it felt the way it was. The audience, there's a great sloppiness about in between songs. I mean, there was one.
Tune up. Aye.
But later on, you know, tightened it up and got it more pro. But in a way, I kind of liked the relaxed attitude. It was a little freer and easier in the 70s. You know, to get away with murder. You know.
We're going to do a couple of new songs. Deux, trois nouveaux chansons pour vous. Hein? First one's called Starfucker.
I don't know, you can't say fucker anymore.
The funny thing about this show, there was, well, it wasn't really funny, but it was kind of a small place, relatively. So we did 2 shows there. So it was quite a short set, I suppose. So I said, okay, we have to do 2 short sets. So we did an afternoon and an evening performance in this Forêt Nationale place. And this recording is from the evening show. I don't know, was it afternoon? Sounds a bit early to be doing this.
You're going to probably take the afternoon show as a run through.
I never liked doing afternoons much.
But sometimes they're some of the best shows too. And sometimes you get the band plays freer and a little looser, and some more ideas come out.
Once you get out there, it's all the same. Forum 1975. The opening promotion gag of the tour was one of the best, my favourite sort of gag, was we went down Fifth Avenue on a flatbed truck. And played whatever song we played, Brown Sugar probably or something, I don't remember. You know, obviously people looked as it passed, but being New York, didn't really care that much and sort of gave it a glance probably. The journalists that we hoped to cover this story of us playing outdoors weren't told about this, and they were put into a bar. As we came near, they were told to go outside and look. This show's at the LA Forum, which I always remember when it opened. It no longer is like this, but the guys that showed you to your seats were dressed in togas. Because it was the LA Forum, get it? And the togas with little kind of like sparkly bits on it. It was very nice. Very twee.
There were some weird dress codes in those days.
The first of all of the desperate tune-up twins is Ronnie Wood, guitar.
It's the first show with Ronnie Wood, and he played very well on this. It's obviously very different, but I mean, there's quite a lot of time between playing on stage with Mick Taylor and playing with Ronnie Wood. But it was a big adjustment.
I never found it tricky to play with Ronnie. Different, like it is. I mean, you play with any other player, it is different. Mick Taylor is a spectacular lead player. Before that, when I worked with Brian Jones, we were more interlocked. It was more rhythm and lead. It wasn't that separation, everything. With Mick Taylor, there was more separation between rhythm and lead, at least live. Not so much on record, but on live, and quite rightly so, because he was a beautifully fluent player, and it gave me a chance to sit down and sit on those riffs, you know. And which I love to do. I love a good riff to sit on. I mean, Ronnie, it is kind of a mixture of the two. Ronnie had a lot of this, has the same qualities that I had worked with Brian Jones, which is a sort of more interlocking way of playing, but he also has some very nice bottleneck style and lead style as well. So Ronnie's in between Mick Taylor and Brian. You know, I mean, I just sit there and hammer out the chords, you know, and try and give them a push, you know, and after all, I wrote them.
On this tour, the album we'd had previously was It's Only Rock and Roll, so we were doing that. It's Only Rock and Roll.
I said, I know it's only rock and roll.
And that kind of basically is made for stage, really, that song. And the thing with tours is also you're also going out behind an album as well, generally speaking. You know, you write a song and, you know, within a week or so, you know, you recorded it. And in actual fact, it's still a baby, you know, because until you've taken it on stage and run it around the boards and put it through an audience and then got the feedback and all of that, it's not, you know, it's not fully grown, you know. And some are great record songs, and others are great live songs too. You could always feel, especially at the beginning of a tour, there's certain tension between, and eventually you find out which ones stick and which ones don't. You know, which one will oil in, and which one are you going to have to work at live. And you have to put them out there and see how they go, you know. And also you've got to see especially how Mick feels about it.
I tell you who's playing with us tonight. We got on keyboards, we got Bobby, we got Billy Preston.
We had Billy Preston playing with us. It was fantastic. I used to go off, and Billy would do whatever couple of tunes he would do. Will it go around in circles, out of space. This was the early days of sort of synthesizer stuff. So a lot of people hadn't really heard this kind of thing played live, you know. I would tease him a lot about his wigs, which he didn't like. He took it really good humour, but he didn't like it, so I had to like restrain myself. I had a lot of jokes when I introduced him about his wigs. Because he had so many different ones, and of course I saw them. And I would know which ones, and he would ask me if this one looked all right. We also had a percussion player called Ollie Brown who played with Billy. And we had Steve Madeo, one section with Bobby Keys and Trevor Lawrence.
We always had very, very strong ties with the Chicago blues guys, and Howling Wolf was one of them. Chester, which is his real name. We didn't go around saying, I say Howling, how are you doing? You know what I mean? It was Ches. I mean, Icon. I mean, you know, and he smokestack lightning, and he played Little Red Rooster. Actually, first met him on a Jack Good Shindig show, like 1964 or 5, you know, it was on TV show. And that's where we first met each other, and we're the only other act on that TV show that knew anything about the blues, that knew him. And, we had a rapport with him. Later on, I once went to a party at Muddy Waters' house, and miraculously woke up at Howling Wolf's house, and I still have no idea how that happened. But obviously some kind friends had transported me.
Captain Rose, Virginia, we thank you so very much for waiting. Would you welcome, please, the Rolling Stones?
This show is from Hampton, Virginia, and it's a coliseum. It's like an arena. And it was from a show we did as a pay-per-view television show. And it was quite nerve-wracking doing the TV show, to be honest. And so that's early pay-per-view stuff. I'm not sure how many people actually were able to watch it on pay-per-view, because pay-per-view is notoriously impossible to get both nights. It came out in any other format, I think. But it was a good gig. We did 2 nights there, so we filmed probably both nights.
That's where the guy ran on stage, right? And security was a bit slow, and I saw some guy heading straight for Mick. I saw nobody between him and Mick. Oh God, here we go. I'm not going to get any more money for this. I have no idea what this guy's going to do. I don't know if he's going to stab Mick, hug him, kiss him, you know, roll over and screw him. I don't know. You know, all I know is that he's trying to get his hands on Mick, and this I have to prevent. And I do have a weapon in my hands. That Telecaster's a real handy smack on him, and I just took it off, and I saw that he was definitely going for Mick, and nobody else was going to get in the way, so I just swung it and caught him right there. I did no damage. I mean, I was not trying to, you know, like smash the guy up or anything. I just wanted him out and down. He fell into Charlie's drum kit, but didn't stop Charlie playing, you know. By then the guys had grabbed him, and so I put the guitar back on. I was playing Satisfaction at the time, and I thought, this is going to sound terrible, but the damn thing had stayed in tune. And this is the greatest advert for Fender I can give you.
We had the Tattoo You album out, Black Limousine, Neighbours, Hangfire, Waiting on a Friend, quite a few from that album.
I had some great times making up some of these songs. And some of the tracks, you know, even now that I listen to it, I'm sure that was cut for the other album, but then trickled over into another. We know we're making an album, but it's not that it sort of stops and starts. These are the 10 songs, and you record until you actually turn around and say, I've got no more ideas. And so one album can easily bleed into another without you even being aware of it. We'd laid down Start Me Up 5 years earlier, and it had slipped through the net. I think it was something to do with the fact that at the time Mick and I were sure that Start Me Up definitely was a reggae song. And we did it reggae stuff. I don't know, 40, 50 takes, you know. Start me up, baby, you know. And somewhere there was a break, and I laid in with Charlie, the one we all know now. And then it lay dormant for 5 years, and then suddenly they pulled it out of the can, and how did we forget that, man? So Amelia went to work on it. I realized then it was one of those riffs, but even then I didn't think it was going to become, because it became something more than you could expect. I mean, a sports anthem. It became an anthem for so many other things, and of course, no, you don't expect those things. I don't hear a good riff's a good riff, and I'll give it a good whack.
And we built a special stage that night for it, which had these enormously long walkways where it went all the way up the top of the arena and round to the back. I mean, I don't know, I think I went up there once. I didn't really know how to work it.
They were getting bigger and bigger throughout that period. I mean, the stage sets, the size of the audience was getting bigger, and also technology was getting to a point where it could actually handle it. I mean, the idea of a monitor a few years before that you could hear yourself was like unbelievable. I mean, probably, mostly for the better, but sometimes the technology was coming so fast that it was almost hard to digest.
Roundhay Park, Leeds, 1982. Very large gig. This is like a big, I remember it being a lot of people. I don't know how many people, but it's sort of stretched on.
The crowd that size, I mean, imagine if they were angry or didn't like it. I mean, sometimes with all this energy, what could happen, People in a bunch, if they're really enjoying themselves, they pass that energy back to you. So there's this kind of weird electromagnetic transference of energy that goes on. And with a crowd that size, it is quite amazing, especially in the afternoon.
So, at the reception.
No, it was a fantastic show. I remember it was very, very beautiful. The sort of rather melancholic sort of silver grey sky at the back. Rather beautiful evening. No, I really enjoyed that one. But it was the last show of the tour, which always feels a bit odd. You know what I mean? There's always something very odd about it. And it was very kind of melancholic at the end.
You want to give it your all and give it the best, because after this you can flake out as long as you want, And also, you're going to be missing a lot of friends because you've been on the road with everybody for 18 months, 2 years, and you get used to this family that you're living with. And so there's a heightened sort of emotion in a way in the last show,
It was the last show that we did with Ian Stewart, who never played us after this, and he died a couple of years afterwards.
And it's in my soul to my friend Jimmy, and he said one word that to me.
Slightly strange set list, in my opinion, looking back on it. What was I thinking? Normally when you play an big outdoor show, you play it very safe because you get the biggest common denominator. So if you play too many obscure songs, people go, huh? They get a bit lost, and you get a lot of blank faces and everything quite often. But there was a few odd ones in here. We played Going to a Go-Go, stuff like Let Me Go, which is a bit obscure also. 20 Flight Rock, a cover version of Eddie Cochran, which I think we'd done that before, but nevertheless it wasn't much played, and to play that in this kind of set, very odd. Yeah, it's all good things, but I'm kind of surprised to see him on the Roundhay Park set list, to be honest.
So I won't work too loud.
Eddie was, he skimmed very, very fine lines, masterpieces of songwriting, just tiptoeing on the line of going over the top. That's what I call songwriting. This is like putting you back in touch with stuff that came bouncing out the radio, and you go, wow, And one day I got to play that song, for real.
I love my baby, wanna see your face. I love my baby too much to wait.
Hey, if you don't allow Mick Jagger to wear what he wants, then what's the world coming to? Weirdly enough, I think that particular style was unveiled on the last show of the tour. I don't know. Oh, they're pretty cool, actually, in retrospect.
I don't want no beast of burden. My back is broad.
Beast of Burden, this is it's a special song. We didn't write it as a special song or thought it was a special song when we recorded it. But it's grown on me over the years, and I realized why people respond to it so much. And I don't know, I wish I could write another one just as good. That's my aim. But it's a beautiful song. It just has all of the feel, and what I aim for is to write great soul ballads. And that's getting close.
Time is on my side. Yes,
And it was strange, the different tastes and the different hits that you got from different countries, different areas, parts of the world. Time is on my side. It wasn't released as a single in England. It came out here. And we're supposed to be this bunch of rock and rollers. And meanwhile, we're having hits with these sort of slow soul ballads. Time is on my side. And I think Heart of Stone, Tell Me, were big hits in America. Meanwhile, we're trying to play Route 66. No, but we play blues, We didn't play Satisfaction for years because we didn't like the way we played it on stage. So they were, where's Satisfaction? I didn't like it, it took a long time for me to be very comfortable with the song on stage. Maybe that record was just so iconic sounding that any other time you played it, it jarred in a way, But it took me it took the band a while to sort of actually say, yeah. And our first record was Come On, a Chuck Berry song. And it was a top 10 record, but we wouldn't play it on stage. It's the Stones, they just, ornery.
Under my thumb, there's a woman who was hand down.
Towards the end, and you know that you're going to hit some of your really solid riffs, and in actual fact, you're looking forward to it. Not because it's the end of the show, but you just want to get your teeth into those tracks, because today I'm going to play it better than I ever did before, Sometimes it's wrong, sometimes, but that's the way you go into those things. Japanese people are an amazing bunch of Stones freaks. From the minute we got there and until this very moment now, they're especially warm audience for the Stones. It was a fantastic experience.
Tokyo Dome 1990, which was like the first time we'd ever played in Japan, and it's never been there before. Weren't allowed to go there because of they wouldn't let us in, visas, drug problems.
I would say it was the Japanese people more than us that kind of made it possible for us to go there. Because at that time, you know, the Japanese authorities were pretty much like not interested, you know. I always figured that they were making like a big mistake, you know, because it only made people more more promiscuous in a way, wondering why you weren't let in. So then you go, hey, what are you scared of? There's a bunch of guitar players, for Christ's sake, you know.
I said, why though? It's only rock and roll, but I like it.
They leap about a bit and they play some good music and people want to hear it. I remember the pedal with the stamps and the weird.
And then we got there and it was fantastic. We got a great welcome, great audience, very appreciative Japanese audience. You know, I had to learn my Japanese pattern, which is always amusing.
Awesome! Nihon no minasan, tashi tachi wa Nihon ni kuru no o nagaru machimashita.
It was a very difficult gig to play though, the indoor dome, because it's very echoey. It's very hard to hear yourself as well. It was a tricky place to play, very tricky. We had this huge stage, which was the steel wheel stage, which I don't know how that arrived in Japan, but it was massively large, even by today's standards. It was very long, incredibly long.
Time didn't exist in years and months or hours or days. It existed in records and tours. Somebody would say to me, oh, 91, oh, Steel Wheels. My time frame goes like that.
Mixed emotions, sad, 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 rock and a hard place, almost hear you sigh, can't be seen with you, and any others I've forgotten.
It felt really good to make. The whole album was a joyous feeling. You know, it was like, yes, this is the time to do it. It kicked off right with the mega sort of touring stuff as well. I felt rejuvenated, and so I think so did Mick, by just, you know, having those few years off. Mick had done his own things. I'd done the winos and playing with other people. After all, you know, being in one small band, you know, 5, 6 people, it's a bit of a vacuum after time, you know, and you want to spread wings and see what else can happen. It doesn't, you know, you don't mean you can't fold them up and come back in.
One time you were my baby chicken, now you bought it to a box. One time you were my little rooster, but now I just want your cock.
It was like a mutual respect, I think. I always felt that about Toronto. It's been a favourite haunt to rehearse in. For some reason. A lot of it's to do with logistics and money, I've no doubt. You go into the Masonic Hall, you knew where you were going, you didn't have to break in a new room, so it was an easy place to rehearse in, and it's always been a good town to us, you know, especially to me, and they got me out of jail.
It's worth justice, oh yeah. You're gonna have to trust me. It's worth justice, but
I think there's something psychological maybe in kicking off before we actually hit the big stage and just get the feel of an audience, you know, really face to face, which is quite important, because once you get on the big stage you have to exaggerate and everything has to be amplified more. The hard gigs are like the small ones, you know, where you've got no props, no nothing, you just have to do what you do face to face. I think it's a matter of touching your roots and then letting it fly from there. After all, it is a club band. I mean, in its embryonic form, that's what it is. Yeah, if we can pull it off in a club, baby, we can pull it off anywhere.
you're a beauty, such a cutie. How could I resist?
In a way, you use it to break in new songs. We're going to throw a brand new song at you now that you've never heard in your life. Let's hope it goes down well, you know. It's the band testing themselves and saying, well, you know, if we can play them an unknown song and yeah, it's rocking, then we're cool, you know.
I think that's the first time we ever done that, is that right? I think it might be.
There's a kind of feeling about set lists where it finally settles itself, and then you have room to maneuver. You know, let's branch out a bit and try some of the newer stuff, or something that we've never done before. You know, do some cover version or something. And actually, that's a sign of the band feeling confident about itself. A lot depends on if Mick wants to sing it. I mean, when it comes down to it, the front man has to be the one. I mean, if I throw an idea at him, he says, no way am I going to do that, no way we're going to do it, you know. When Mick's feeling adventurous, it means he feels confident in the band and that everything's set and ready to go, which I certainly think he was that night. If I look at a set list that Mick's drawn up, and the more adventurous the thing is, then I have more confidence in him, you know, because I know, because it's a two-way street. In a way, I go, well, he wants to try that, that's a good sign, you know, I mean, hope I can remember it, you know what I mean?
We got this old tune for you, we do it slightly differently this time around, see if you like this.
Songs tend to race when it's live, is that extra adrenaline that you have to, I mean, I'm constantly aware to try and control it. Because once Mick gets going and the whole thing is rocking, it's easy to let it carry you away. And sometimes it's not the best for the music, you know, and you have to keep putting some brakes on occasionally. Pianissimo, you know. Some songs can get stale on you, you know. Others, you just like relish them all the time and they taste good and there's no shelf life. Chuck's been with us since Ian Stewart died. I mean, he's almost like passed it on. Chuck is a perennial. I mean, he has become an important part of the band, in actual fact. He's quite meticulous. Me, I'm kind of crazy, you know. Let Chuck run the tempo to start with, and then we're, you know, cool. And an incredible player. Daryl's such a musicologist. I mean, he played with Miles Davis and stuff, you know. I mean, he's a real musician. Me, I'm a Rolling Stone, which is another thing, you know. I mean, I know how to do that. But at the same time, he loves playing rock and roll, and he loves playing with Charlie Watts and the rest of us. But I think, you know, the thing is, bass and drums have to, you know, the worst thing in the world for a band is for the drummer to hate the bass player, and vice versa, you know. So it's, you know, if those two are married and in love, then I'm happy, you know.
No, you won't leave that. I refuse to let you go.
When it comes down to it, the blues is what America gave the music to the world. I think the Stones always thought, I mean, that actually we're playing America back their own music. And in a way, I think that's probably the best things that the Stones really did, was that they did turn America back on to music that it was forgetting, that it wasn't getting to hear. And people like Muddy and Howling Wolf, Jimmy Reed's, Slim Harpo's, and people like that got a whole new lease on life, and once again America realized what great music it has. I know the band has its own natural rhythm. If it had kept on just piling on, we probably wouldn't be here talking now. You know, I mean, there's certain waves, and we're just about to hit a crest again. It's a hot ticket, I give you that. You know, I mean, it's. I don't know if they come to see us screw up or what.